Hi everyone, this is Erin Gates with Lizzie Knits and Three Birds Yarn Studio, and today I want to go over the 1x1 rib stitch. So this is ribbing. You might have seen this before. Ribbing is a great stitch to know for like hat brims, cuffs on mittens and gloves, necklines of sweaters. And it's nice because it is very stretchy and it fits snug. So example, I'm making a hat right here, so this will fit snug like on your forehead before then we start like the body of the hat. So it's very stretchy, and what 1x1 rib means is that it's an alternate, you're alternating between knitting and purling. So before I show you how to do the rib stitch, you will need to know how to knit and purl. And if you do not, I'd like to direct you over to another video that I have on this channel. It's titled How to Knit and Purl. So if you are brand new to knitting, I do advise you watch that first, and I'll show you how to do these stitches in more depth. Okay, so ribbing looks like this. So here, where you see like the ridged V's, those are knit stitches. Where you see little bars across, those are identified as purl stitches. So I am going to, the next one up here on my left needle is a knit stitch. Then the next one behind that is a purl stitch. Knit, purl, knit, purl. And you just keep repeating that to do the ribbing. So let's keep this little pattern going. I'm on a knit. Okay, I just created another one in this column of like V's that looks like a knit stitch, and then I orient my yarn to the front because the next stitch up is a purl. Again, you can tell by like there's purls have the little horizontal bars in the front. So this is now a purl stitch. I want to purl that one. Okay, up next, now we're back to a knit column, so I am going to knit this one. Now we're up with a purl. Okay, and you just keep doing the same thing of 2-stitch repeat. It's a knit, purl, only 2 stitches. Knit, purl. And you see when I'm switching in between knitting and purling, knitting we have the yarn in the back, purling we have yarn in the front, and you know, you might hold your yarn a little different than me. I know I don't have a super common way of holding the yarn, but you might hold your yarn in your right hand, just however is comfortable for you. Let's keep going. Knit, purl, knit, purl. And that is 1x1 ribbing. It's only 2 stitches repeat. So this isn't super complicated, but it looks so nice and clean when it's done. And like I said, it's got a stretchy but snug fit. So it helps keep your garments in place where they need to be. Like I like, you know, ribbing around the cuff of a sweater. You want it to be tight here. You want the hat to not fall off your head. So that's why you do ribbing on the brim. All right, so that's, and as you can see, I'm doing a hat brim, so I'm knitting in the round. All right, so 1x1 ribbing though can also be knit flat. So let me move over. I have a little swatch here of flat 1x1 ribbing and straight needles, different color yarn. But as you can see, it's the same look. I would start this row, knit, purl. Here's the knit, purl. And also with 1x1 ribbing, I know I keep pointing out the stitches, but it kind of helps to identify the stitches. So you, as you're moving along, you know that this is going to be a knit stitch, and then you know that this one needs to be followed with a purl stitch. This is especially helpful if like you put your project down for a while and come back later, be like, where did I leave off? So let's just do a little straight round. It's the same. Here, I'm starting this with a knit stitch. Now I'm on a purl stitch. So yarn to the front. Okay, yarn to the back because it's another knit stitch. Here we're on a purl stitch because I have that little horizontal bar. Move the yarn to the front and do a purl. Again, if you would like extra practice on actually doing the knit and purl stitch, please watch my video, How to Knit and Purl. It'll break it down, so watch that and then come back to this one. We got knit, purl. I'm going to get to the end of the row here, and I want to note that I cast on a even number of stitches for this little swatch. So I'm knit, purl, let me get to the end here. Oops, knit, purl. All right, 2 more. See the little V's, that is a knit stitch. Because when they're facing towards you, knit stitches look like V's, purl stitches look like little bars. Although I'm knitting flat, so these two, they don't look super clean. That's just the nature of knitting flat. And that's why I would put a border here if I was making like a finished piece here. But for the sake of the tutorial, this is what my ends look like. Okay, so we get, I have an even number of stitches. I'm going to flip. And since I'm working in an even number of stitches, it is easy, then I will start on a knit stitch. So knit, purl, same thing. And here I have one more thing to say regarding stitch identification. So now I have, I'm on a knit, because we can see that's the column. We got V's right here. Okay, next one, that looks like a purl stitch because it's that little horizontal bar underneath. So I'm going to purl that one. Okay, I'm going to stop knitting, but I have an even number of stitches. So knitting 1x1 ribbing flat also has the potential to be worked over an uneven amount of stitches. So when you flip every time, you wouldn't be starting with the knit every time. That only works if you have an even amount. So depending on even number of stitches or odd number of stitches, you might be starting with a purl than a knit. So that's why I was saying keep an eye on identifying your stitches, because if you know what stitch comes next, then it won't matter if you have an even or an odd amount, because you'll just see the stitch and know what you're supposed to do. So purl, and if you weren't aware of this, when we purl, it actually creates a knit on the opposite side, and knit stitches create a purl on the opposite side. You might have known this, you might not, but a knit stitch and a purl stitch are always inverse of each other. So that's kind of fun. Okay, so I think that's about it. So I showed you in the round and knitting flat, both yield like a really nice, stretchy, clean piece of fabric that's kind of tight, but it will stay snug. Yeah, snug in your project where you need things to be snug. Last thing, if you ever see, so in my opinion, 1x1 rib is the most common. Just knit and the purls are in there. When this is not stretched, you can hardly see the purls. They're in there. So 1x1 ribbing, knit, purl, knit, purl. It is very common too to have, I think this is the most common, but you might see a pattern that has 2x2 ribbing. So that means you will knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2. So 1x1, 2x2, I've seen 2x1, which is another variation. When you 2x1, you would knit 2, purl just 1, knit 2, purl just 1. So no matter how you pattern, this is kind of it's all the same concept, but the stitches distribution might be a little different. But for now, I just love a good 1x1 ribbing for all my garments. Okay, I hope that clears everything up on 1x1 ribbing. And again, please, if you check my other videos, if you'd like a breakdown of the individual knit and purl stitches, the video is how to knit and purl. All right, well, thanks for watching and happy knitting.